All right. Welcome everybody to the Good Podcast. It's just so great to see you, Seth. It really is. My guest today is Seth Yanklewitz, who's the vice president of casting for Fox Television, and he's very busy. He's working right now on his phone, I think, is what he's doing, which is totally fine. You can keep doing that. I do that as well. So thank you for being my guest on this show, Seth. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
How's the weather? How's the weather in LA today? Because I think we're at 40 here today in Minneapolis. Have you ever been to Minneapolis?
I have not.
Okay.
And the weather is way warmer than 40 degrees.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's probably, well, let's tell you. Do you want me to tell you what the weather is here?
I don't know if I want to hear that. That'd be kind of like bad news.
No, I mean, you should, because it's a reason for every single person to move to LA.
Yeah, but then you have that horrible traffic situation going on.
It is horrible. It's horrible. I could run to work faster. It's 77 degrees here today.
No, we haven't seen those days for probably 2 months, I would say.
Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, I would say like as 2 weeks ago, it was like in the high 80s.
No.
Yeah, sorry, Minneapolis. Sorry.
No. But then we don't have that risk of earthquakes like you do.
I'll be gone by the time the big earthquake's coming.
Oh.
It's like 10 years. I mean,
is that when they're predicting?
I'm going to say California will be swimming in the ocean in the next 10 years.
In a decade? And then where are you going to be?
Hopefully back on the East Coast.
Oh, is that where you're from?
Yeah. I was born in New York, raised in Florida, back to New York for college and living in the start of my career, and then California. Going this January 11th will be 16 years I'm here.
Wow. At Fox or in casting in general?
No, I've been in casting for coming on 20 years because I started while I was in school as an intern.
I just assumed you were like in your early 30s.
I am. Not at all. It's just we have really good dermatologists in California.
Do you really? You look timeless, frankly, timeless.
I am. Why, thank you.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So, 16 years in Los Angeles.
So how did you? Well, I'm gonna forget that you lived in Florida because I don't. That's just not a good anything. I think anyone should admit to unless you're living in Palm Beach.
Well, I mean Fort Lauderdale. I grew up in.
Oh, sure. I've gone there.
Yeah.
Just for fun. But so how did you ever get into, is this what you wanted to do? I'm completely fascinated by what it is that you do. I'm fascinated about your tattoos, by the way. Please share this because, of course, you and I both, I think, share a love of torture. Yeah. So tell me about these tattoos on your hands.
Oh, well, this is, I mean, I don't know if anyone can see this.
I can see it, so everybody else can. If I can see it, everybody else can.
Those are my son's initials. So Solomon Henry Yanklewitz Wyand, which is his other dad's last name.
Right.
Yeah. And then this is actually my first tattoo fail. I got a tattoo on vacation and it got within 1 hour, like so severely infected. And then within like 2 hours, I was like, okay, so when you get a prosthetic pinky, is it metal bionic or is it plastic? So,
but didn't you know not to get a tattoo in a street corner?
It's in the middle of the street.
Middle of the street. Okay, yes, stand corrected.
It's actually a reputable tattoo place. I just think it was a bad day for them.
Huh.
So,
I've heard of people getting bad tattoos before, but I've never seen one before.
That's it. What does it look like to you?
It looks like schmutz.
Right. So in theory, it should have been an anchor.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But so it like bubbled and fizzled and then, yeah, not good. Not good. So I now have to get that removed or lightened as much as possible.
Laser surgery, right?
But I mean, I'm fully covered. I mean, I have like one sleeve, a pant leg, another 3/4 sleeve, and then some itsy bitsy things around.
Well, I started following the Tumblr page, which is dedicated to you. So I don't know if you've seen that, but that's, I think, kind of has a lot of pictures of your.
There's not a Tumblr page.
I'm just giving
was
you
like,
shit. I'm
what
totally
is
giving.
going
You were panicking there, which was
Well,
kind of hilarious.
yeah, I was. 'Cause I have a
You were like,
kid.
"How did people find those pictures?"
I don't. I mean, you've seen like one picture of me, so that's like from a while ago. But
Right. So
yeah,
back to the question at hand. It sounds
yeah.
like you and I should
How
not
did it
travel
start?
together because we're never going to stay on track. But was casting what you expected to get into? What did you
No,
go to school for? Like, how did this happen?
I studied acting at NYU Tisch School of the Arts, and I had only ever wanted to be an actor my whole life. So I literally, within the first 6 months of the program in my freshman year, I was like, "Oh hell no!"
And why is that?
I probably because I was, just turned 18, was living in New York City. I was really coming out, and after my first semester, I got into like the club scene in New York City, but it was really like the second semester of my freshman year. The studying the art of acting, like getting the skill, because it's a craft. I mean, look, there's genius actors who just have it, kids that you see that do movies that, it's not taught to them. They just have it, but for people who don't just naturally have that thing, you can learn how to tap into the sort of psyche and the craft of acting and accessing, things that like the different schools of acting teach you, whether it's Meisner or, Stella Adler or, Uta Hagen. Like, there are things that actors do in order to tap into their psyche to play scenes. So I just didn't care to learn it. And it was probably because I was pompous. I thought I would be a movie star. I thought I'd be Tom Cruise.
You're taller than he is, so that wouldn't happen.
True. But eventually then I also knew that I would never be able to take a math or science class. So I stayed in the acting program and just sort of did my bare minimums and really like took a keen interest in, like the literary side of it, like all the sort of, history of film and theater classes, the reading plays, like the sort of academic side of it. And then in semester at NYU and Tisch, you can do an internship. And I was like, done. Like, I'm getting the hell out of acting classes. Yeah. And they like, at the time, I think it was the 4th floor in the Tisch building on Broadway in the East Village. And you sort of like go up to the administration floor and they hand you like a thin 3-ring binder with like a paragraph of descriptions of all the places in New York City you could have internships. And it's so like such an antiquated, like ridiculous process to be able to, pick an internship. And I like thumbed through the book and I was like, this sounds interesting. And it was for a commercial casting office. I sent my resume and they picked me, and I was an intern that semester and I never left.
Really?
So, in an instant. And I, then they hired me to be the receptionist over the summer. And then I was graduating early anyway. So that next fall was my final, like, actual in-school semester. And they kept me to be an intern again. And I never left, and I worked my way up, and I was a commercial casting director within 3 years, working on some of like the biggest campaigns and all this stuff, and like David LaChapelle and all these big directors and for commercials. And I just fell in love with it. And then, it's a really funny story, actually. I was working it was a Pepto-Bismol commercial.
I do have heartburn, so this would apply to me.
Yeah. And, in commercials, you see like in a day, 100 actors for one spot.
Okay.
So it was a 9:30 to 6 o'clock session with an hour lunch break. And I remember seeing like it was 102 40-something-year-old men get nauseous. Like, and I walked out and I gave my 2 weeks notice because I was like, there's got to be more for me out there. Like,
Right.
I was in my early 20s. I was like 21. I was like, I can't watch 40-year-old men get nauseous for the rest of my life.
Right.
Like, there's just got to be more for me.
Right.
And I gave my 2 weeks notice. And anyway, that sort of started my path to what first became the movie business and ultimately now, in-house television. But
you were talking about all these different methods in acting school or acting, right? Acting school, I guess is what it would be called. Acting training or training methods. I'm curious. I was married to a woman for 5 years. So what method would that be? Because I would consider that would be my acting kind of method. That would be college. I've got acting experience. If I was married to a woman for 5 years, what method? Do you have a method you think that would be called?
Well, there's so many questions for me to actually know what method, which we probably shouldn't get into here. Exactly. But
I think that would make me a good actor.
That's just pure method acting.
Is that method acting?
That's like full on like method.
I did a pretty good job. She bought it, so.
Are you friends with her now?
No.
Okay.
No, but the custody battle is what kind of, because I've got a daughter. I've got a 19-year-old daughter.
Oh wow.
So the custody battle kind of ended that, but anyway.
Right.
So what is it about becoming, getting into this field? What is it that you love about it? What is it that kind of feeds your soul or that you resonate with it that makes you want to come back every day?
Well, there's nothing more amazing. First off, like in this job specifically, I get to work on some of like the most amazing shows with amazing creators, and you're just around creative people all the time, which is amazing.
It's really inspiring.
When I worked on movies or in TV before I came here as an independent casting director, and you're in the room auditioning actors and doing all that, there's nothing more amazing than bringing a person in and like getting a performance out of them and then watching the director watch the tape or come in later and see it all get married and then get the part. It's slightly egomaniacal to say like, when you discover someone, because casting directors, we give people first jobs. Like, unless you're going, like, around to shopping centers and, like, pulling people out, you're not really discovering them. You might give them their first job.
Right.
But, there's just, there's this one actress, Katie Mixon, who I cast in the show Eastbound and Down for HBO. And it was a really long casting process for that role specifically. The creators wanted something very specific and, we couldn't find it. And she came in, and the girl who came in the room the first time was not what they wanted. But like many work sessions later and some tweaking of like
with her
hair and makeup and clothes and style, like, and we got her there, and she was like, it was amazing. And it changed her life. She had just come off like Broadway, but like it didn't end well, if I recall. And like, she personally needed this victory. She professionally needed this victory. Right. So like, those are the moments that you like cherish, that propel you in like the rough patches. But honestly, here, like, we just get to work on so much cool stuff, and whether it works or doesn't work, like, you get to be part of like a big process. Like, you get to learn about marketing, and you get to learn about publicity and, the development process, which when you're an independent casting director, you're singularly focused,
So what shows, for those people who are listening, what shows outside of New Girl? I know New Girl with, and you cast Zoe Deschanel in that role, right?
Yeah, I did before I had this job, I cast the pilot of that show.
Oh, sure.
Right.
So what shows with Fox, why don't we just get specific, have you worked on?
I get to work on currently like The Grinder starring Rob Lowe and Fred Savage. we have a new show coming out with the creators. It's with Jerry Bruckheimer Television and Warner Brothers, called Lucifer, which is going to be on in the mid-season. I get to work on Gotham, which is a huge
cool.
And it's one of my favorites to work on. There's a lot of, obviously the network has Empire, which is a huge sort of worldwide hit.
Right. Let me ask you a question. So did you anticipate, I remember when they came, because I'm with Fox here locally, and I remember when they came to Fox here locally to promote that show the night that it was going to air, and I remember thinking, I didn't know too much about it, but then I watched it and was like, holy shit, like this show's fucking amazing. Did you anticipate that show was going to be, as big as it is?
I don't know that anybody knew it was going to be like,
what it is. It's like a force.
I think everyone hopes and you pray and
right.
Everybody works hard and tirelessly and endlessly to produce like great quality product.
Right.
So it's like icing on what's already like a deliciously perfect piece of cake,
right.
for lack of a better analogy, but like
right.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
That show's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I don't cover that show, but you work so closely with everyone that
right.
in some way you're all related to it, and you like talk about it, and
right.
you have, it takes a village. It takes a village.
Well, right,
it's amazing.
And you and I, when we talked the other day, that was something that I really wanted to touch on, is the fact that, I'm not trying to discount, obviously, the actors and actresses do their work, but what most people don't get is that when you look at a show, regardless of how many cast members there's a village of people that have worked behind that show even before it even airs for the first time. Hundreds of people and hundreds of hours that go into that. And I don't think people kind of get the work that you do behind the scenes to kind of bring a show to fruition. And so can you give our listeners an idea of what it is that you do and the hours that go into bringing a show to pilot, which to me, most people will look at something because they don't get the work that goes, and they'll watch it for, 15 to 20 minutes and go, whatever, and just discount all that time.
I mean, it takes a village to get a show like on air or the pilot. There are so many different departments and people, and the casting process is like 10 weeks before like the show, and then the table reads and the shooting. But like, if anything in this climate of television where there's so many platforms to watch it, what I say is watch it live, because it's so phenomenal to be part of the conversation as opposed to like sort of catching up with the conversation. And, there are so many, between wardrobe and hair and makeup and set design and script and casting, like there's just so many people who put blood, sweat, and tears to get it made. And, one thinks that we are the taste, makers in terms of like, that's why we have these jobs. Like we're sort of setting the tone for pop culture or
right.
culture in general, and you hope it resonates. And so when you have such a smash hit like Empire, you're like, oh, okay, we know what we're doing. Or, you have like such brilliant shows and not a lot of people are watching, but then you realize like they are watching it. Just now people don't watch live like they used to. So
right.
They're watching in 3 days or 7 days after. And actually shows are way bigger hits than people are reporting on because people are watching it just not live. So I beg everyone listening, watch your TV live if you can, or at least a Fox show.
Right. No, I totally agree. I would totally agree. So what show are you most proud of working on? Is there one that you go, wow, you know what, that when I look back, that was really fantastic. That was amazing.
Well, look, I will forever, just because it garnered me my one and only Emmy nomination, like New Girl.
Love that show.
But but so I'm still proud of that show on a weekly basis. And, this season we have Megan Fox guest starring on it, which is going to be amazing. And I really feel like comedically this show, it in its 5th season, it's where we were in our 1st season. So like for New Girl fans, like I feel like this show is going to be back and it's amazing. I'm so proud of Gotham, and also Last Man on Earth, which is another show, the Will Forte show, which is just like, it's epic in terms of its comedy. So I'm just lucky, I get to work on some great stuff, and we're doing Grease Live.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I get to work on, and we're doing the TV movie version of Rocky Horror, starring Laverne Cox, which was announced.
Wow.
Frankenfooter. So
right.
I think it's pretty amazing.
So what was it about Zooey Deschanel that made you think about her for that role? Because I remember when that show came out, it was being advertised, and I'm completely inappropriate. I will say I'm not a big fan of her music. But so I was thinking, oh, wow, her as an actress, it really didn't get me. But then watching the show, I was instantly hooked by her as an actress. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just kind of curious, what is it about her that made you, when that script was coming out, like, did you instantly think about her, or how did that come about? Because
there's so many people, and like you put names on a list, and then agents read it, and they call people. It was one of those things where like her manager read it, her agent read it, like right. We had her name on a list, the network, the studio. She was sort of untouchable as like a film actress. It was a perfect storm of everyone putting their heads together, and the material being so spotless.
Yeah. Oh, it's perfect. Yeah. That show's amazing.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
And so with Jada Pinkett Smith leaving Gotham, mm-hmm. Has that changed the dynamic? I was surprised she left. I was totally like holding out at that, like, she's totally going to come back. She's totally going to come back. I know she's going to come back. She's pulling it.
I think the show is brilliant this year. Like, I
love the show. Yeah. I love it.
Sure, when a character that people love and resonate with leave, it always changes the dynamic. But all the female villains this year, and the bad villains, and Galavan and everyone, like, I think the show is pretty awesome this season.
So is there anybody, in the history of you doing what you're doing, is there anybody that you've seen kind of go from no one to now you're like, holy crap, like I never anticipated them to be as big as they are today? Like, you knew them when they were nobody, and I mean nobody, not to be mean.
I don't know if I was lucky enough to get to cast The Hangover, and Zach Galifianakis had been around for a really long time as a comedian, and a brilliant one. So it's always nice that he got that role, and then sort of has become this, like, way tour de force as an actor.
Right.
Yeah, look, I think with hard work and dedication, everybody, you can be successful. And sort of oftentimes when I get to go around talking to young actors or what have you, I just say, like, if this is something you like eat, sleep, breathe, and think about, you got to keep doing it. Like, just keep doing it. And, maybe your vision of what you're doing changes. Like, maybe you're not a movie star, but, maybe you're not a movie star or a TV star, but if you're getting to do community theater and you're acting, or you're just doing voiceovers or commercials and you're not a movie star or TV star, like, you're living your dream, man,
Well, yeah, I think that if there's one thing I've kind of learned, because I never anticipated me getting in at Fox was something that I was never looking for. It just kind of fell into my lap. They came to me a couple of years ago and asked me to be on the show, and I was like, wait, what? And then even I just thought they wanted me on once. So then the next week when they called me, they're like, so what are you doing this week on the show? And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, no, you're going to be on the show all the time. I don't know what just happened here, Aaron, but you're on audio only, so I don't know if you're trying to, like, not. Oh, there you are again.
But
sorry. When I'm talking to people, because it was never what I was expecting, I've kind of learned that, whatever your role is, I think we're all going to kind of get, so to speak, our 15 minutes,
Right.
And
Yeah.
you can't really ever anticipate what that 15 minutes is actually going to be. Like what you want it to be and what the universe is going to bring to you are probably going to be two different things. But I think it's more important, like, what are you doing within that moment where people do see you, whatever that moment is? Who
Right.
you are as a person, when you have that moment to shine, I think matters most than what it is that you're doing, if that makes any sense. Like, it doesn't matter if you're doing community theater, the people
Right.
that you're impacting and who you are as a person at that point is more important than the fact that you're doing community theater than, say, you're with Oprah kind of a deal. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So
My whole thing is, if you love what you do,
right,
and passionate, and it fulfills you creatively, then you're on the right path.
right.
So that's
But
how
still
I feel
being
about it.
satisfied. I think it's important to still be satisfied.
Yes.
Or look at everything from a blessed standpoint, so to speak. Not that you're not being, you shouldn't strive and try to attain, to be better, so to speak. So who, out of curiosity, and I'm going to ask these questions because I have to do this.
Okay.
Who
I
has?
might not answer them, but
No, I don't expect you to answer them, frankly. But I still want to ask them. Who is the nicest person that is unexpectedly nice? Who is someone that you've worked with where you're like, oh my God, they were so much nicer than I ever thought they would be?
Well, I was lucky enough to cast a Sandy Bullock movie before I came to Fox.
Oh God, Sandy.
Is
that what her BFFs call her, Sandy?
No, Sandra Bullock. And she was one of the most amazing people I have ever. I mean, I've been lucky. I've never had problems in my career, but she's so collaborative and intelligent and smart and amazing. And you just like want to work. I mean, it's many years ago now, but you just like, you want to work harder and be better when you're around her. She was amazing.
She's always seemed like the kind of person where if she was your neighbor, you could go over there and get a cup of sugar, and then you'd be stuck over there with coffee. She'd be offering you coffee, and you'd be over there for hours, kvetching about whatever. Yeah. So
it was a brief run because a movie casting is like 10 weeks long, but I'll never forget it. Like, amazing.
What movie was that?
It was called All About Steve.
I did. Yeah. Sorry. So what? Sorry, and you're probably then. I think my next question's already been answered. Who's difficult to work with?
I've never been in that situation. Like, I mean, I'm sure. Like,
honestly, you've never been in this situation, or okay, you've really been that fortunate.
I really haven't. Like,
so what would someone? Being an actor isn't something I've ever even thought about doing outside of course, when I was married to a woman, like I told you. So what do people, someone who's wanting to, say, get themselves in front of you, so to speak, mm-hmm. And they think to themselves, even just kind of getting started, what are the things that they should be working on? What are the things that they should kind of know? Instead of thinking, oh, well, all my girlfriends think that, I'd make a really great actress. And you and I talked about this because I get people that go, oh, me and my girlfriends all think we're the Real Housewives of, Edina or whatever. We should have our own show. Like, it's bigger than that. Like, TV is about money. It's not just about, just because everybody thinks you're really pretty. What are the things that you think people like? What are the things like getting their shit in order that they should have in place and in order before they should think about possibly attacking you when they see you at Starbucks?
They can never do that. You have to study acting. You really
is that really? Is that like something that you look for? Is that somebody has studied acting?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying they need to go to a 4-year university, but like, you have to be educated. You have to understand plays. You have to understand the art of acting. Like, you just have to, Uta Hagen's book, Respect for Acting, Sanford Meisner's book on acting, like, you know, Stanislavski, Boleslavsky, like Stella Adler, like you have to study, you have to read. Like there is truly a craft and an art to this, and some people have it and some people don't. But like to just have heard your whole life you should go to Hollywood and be a star. Yes, a lot of people have it happen to them. They do. I get it. You know, and reality TV certainly creates stars that don't have true talent as an actor, and they become lucky and then they learn. But I will guarantee you, all those people, if they get the stardom from the reality or what have you, they then are put in acting classes or with acting coaches. You know, it happens. Like you have to hone your craft. You have to study.
That's so fascinating. I had really kind of no idea. I thought that sometimes that it just naturally happened for people.
It does. It does naturally happen for people. And then they get with a coach to fine tune the craft, to hone the skill. You know,
Even people where it's natural for them, they still end up getting together with a coach.
I believe Nicole Kidman still has an acting coach with her when she does films. Like
really?
I'm fascinated by that. Because they want to learn and figure out how to master, you know, their craft. And like, if they can't figure out a way to get emotionally to something because they've never truly experienced it, like these are people who ask them questions, you know, to get them to tap into parts of their psyche or their brains or their emotional centers or whatever in order to understand who's on the page that they're playing.
So are there acting coaches that you think are fantastic?
Yeah, there's a ton, but I'm not gonna go into those.
Oh,
I mean, there's a ton of people in Los Angeles, like, and there's great people, and there's, you know, like, there's a ton of them, you know, there's Howard Fine, and there's, you know, Susan Batson, and there's, you know, Susan Barron. And
oh my God, I've totally heard of Susan Batson myself. I know I have.
Yeah, Joanne Barron. I mean, there's a ton of them, and Leslie Kahn. I mean, there's amazing coaches, and then there's, you know, dialect coaches and acting coaches, and, you know, accent reduction coaches that are specific. I mean, it's a whole thing.
And so do acting coaches, do they just work with anyone, or is that something where
I mean, some of them are schools, and some of them are for celebrities, and some of them are for different types and different levels, you know, and then there's some that are for audition technique only, and some are for, you know, when you have the job, and some, again, like travel with certain people. So, yeah.
My question is based on, you know, when as an actor, like, do you ever, because there's that whole thing about never give on your dream type of a deal, but, you know, if an acting coach basically says to you, you know what, you know, this isn't, you're not cut out for this, because I'm assuming that happens.
I don't know.
Or
I don't know if
you don't know.
Coaches, people, they're not cut out for it.
Okay. All right.
I hope they don't. I mean, my hope is they just redirect them somehow
to somewhere else.
Or as we like to do is get people to realize things on their own, you know, with gentle sort of corralling, as I like to say, you know, like a sheepdog on a farm with like the lamb or whatever. They sort of like get them in the fence on their own.
Is that what they do? Is that what they do?
I should go into this little circle area.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's so interesting because
the truth is, like, what's that old story, like Meryl Streep, like, went on an audition and someone said she wasn't good looking enough for the part, and she's like, well, I now have 18 Oscars or something. Like,
right.
Like, who is, like, one person telling you you're not good? Like, fuck them.
No, that totally makes sense. So tell me, you know, we're Facebook friends, and you've got this adorable little son.
Yes.
Who, you know, how old is he?
We have a son, my partner, my husband, and I. He's he's 3 and a couple months.
And quite the fashion icon too.
I am trying to get him to be a model for life. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, we are.
I know the president of Ralph Lauren, in case you want to get connected.
Yeah, we're lucky. You know, we adopted, and it was an amazing process. It's an open adoption, so we communicate with his birth family, and we are lucky and got like an amazing gift, and it is like the best thing ever.
Would you want your son to be an actor?
He can do whatever
he
wants, as long as he is happy.
Sure, that totally makes sense. And
yeah, my parents supported me my whole life in the arts. So I will be honest with him and tell him it could be a struggle or it could not be a struggle. And
right.
But if he needs to pursue it, if it's in his blood,
right.
I mean, not going to prevent it.
Right.
Luckily, I'll be able to help him. Hopefully, if I still have a job.
Just a smidge. You're a little connected, I'm assuming, to that community.
So, but fatherhood is like the most amazing thing ever. And I think it's like the best time ever in the world to be gay, and acceptance. And sure, like, there's still some struggles out there, but, you know, and granted, I live in a big city, so I'm a little insulated. But just to, you know, we go on the weekends and there's, you know, 10 groups of people, lesbians, gay, everything, and kids. And it's like fascinating to me that like this is sort of my life now, just because even 5-6 years ago, like it was different, or my vacations have shifted in tonally. But, you know, you truly see like the gift of what having kids gives you, you know, like nurturing someone. And
it's a completely different perspective on life, isn't it? Like it's like you somehow put on a new pair of glasses once you have kids, and you see everything in a completely different way. Yeah. And not in a bad way. It's just all of a sudden now you just have, it's almost like you have a broader perspective on life and forgiveness and those. That's at least what I learned through my daughter, was just to be more patient. And
it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And it's really cool. I think you touched on something, you know, that, you know, I have this conversation regularly with my straight friends, regularly meaning when we do talk about it, that people don't get, you know, having grown up and really being gay not be accepted, to now where we can be married and we can have kids, you know, obviously through adoption, and it's just it's surreal, almost like it's not happening. But it's great to be able to go out in public and see other gay couples and not have to. Yeah. We're very gay friendly in the Twin Cities.
I mean, even from when we got Solomon to now, you know, people around you in restaurants or public places almost stopped looking. Like at first they would try to like register, like, what is this relationship? Like,
right? Are they good friends?
My husband has a big gray beard, so they'd be like, that 3 generations at that table, like what's going on?
Exactly.
So you would like try to figure out like, and like you'd see people trying to register it, or then like you'd be at an airport and, you know, you'd be like, yes, people, we're 2 men with a baby.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
You know, it's so weird. You know, I find it fascinating for youth today, and like all these young kids coming out, or the trans movement, which is so amazing to me, and all these brave young trans boys and girls who are living their true life, and their families who are supporting them. Like I had an easy coming out. I mean, I hid it from my parents until I was 18, but certain of my friends knew, and you know, I told my parents and they were like, okay, we love you, let's figure this out.
Right.
The idea that people get thrown out of their house or their families don't talk to them, that's even foreign to me. But I know, because I have friends that are 10 years older than me, 20 years older than me, that is like normal for them. So this whole movement of like acceptance is even more foreign to them, you know? So
yeah, I have friends who have actually been kicked out and disowned by their families, even just recently, you know, for coming out. And it's so hard to wrap my mind around that reality.
Yeah.
Not that my parents were all that thrilled about it, but
I just don't get it.
Right.
I mean, I literally want to go to like their parents and be like, "You really like this is
Right.
your like
We're in 2015. What's going on?
like well, and you birthed this person like they're your flesh and blood." So anyway,
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Well, and I think too, that to me that kind of adds on to as well. It's always interesting for me when I tell people that I'm at Fox because they're like, that doesn't make any connect for them because they think, of course, think Fox is the devil, and I'm always like, no, you don't get it. Like Fox is doing really, really good. Here we're very gay friendly. It's it's not the perception that people have.
We did Glee. Like Fox
Right.
put Glee on the air and changed the world.
Right.
I mean, literally changed the world with Glee, and like that's the true Fox television network. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I totally get it.
There's more gay people on this floor than you would know what to do with. Like
than at the gay 90s on a Saturday night.
right.
No, and that's kind of interesting because that's actually how we met. Is I had friended you on Facebook because we're both working. We both work for Fox, and I've always kind of done that. If like Facebook suggests someone as a friend, I'm thinking, well, we must have something in common. And then you thought I worked for Ryan Murphy, which he must have some doppelganger.
You look like his costumer.
Oh, that's so interesting. But do you watch American Horror Story?
Of course. Yes, I watch it all.
So which season, I love American Horror Story. Which season would you say is your favorite?
This season is pretty unbelievably amazing. I think last season
Freak Show
Freak Show was just because I love carnivals and the circus and all of it. I'm just in love with like his group of actors that he uses.
Right, keeps pulling from
his company, as they say in the theater biz.
Yeah, that was kind of my the Freak Show was the one I loved all of them, and I thought Coven was going to be my favorite. Like when Freak Show came out or whatever, and even when I started watching when the season started, I was like, whatever. Of course, Jessica Lange, she's of course Minnesotan, so I have to love anything she does, anyways. But she's a fantastic actress. But I find myself constantly quoting shit she says, just kind of throughout the day from that show. And I'm like, and of course it's over a year later and I'm still, or saying Elsa, just kind of like because I'm feeling crazy. But I mean, it's amazing what he's done, and
Ryan is a genius.
Yeah,
and
it's just that whole
they all write all of that stuff, and I mean.
Well, and Scream Queens too.
When I stand around him, like if he's ever on the floor, like I'm just like, can I just like get some of your creative beams in me? Because
because how does he do all of that? That's what I don't get. How all of that comes out of one person.
It's the most amazing thing ever. It really is like a feat that I will never understand, And he's a dad now.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just amazing. It's fascinating. I mean, I wish I was that creative. But
well, don't sell yourself short.
Well, believe me. But I'm lucky enough that I get to be around it and work with them all and for them all in a small capacity. So it's pretty cool.
What do you? We've got a question here about. Do you have any insight about what you think is the future of cable and cord cutting?
Ooh, that's not my department. I hope people don't. I mean, I know you can watch stuff on many different platforms, but it would be, it's not good for the network business, but people should watch their TV live.
Do you not subscribe to watching TV through either one of those channels? We're not going to mention those channels, of course.
What do you mean? I mean, I have cable. I have TV. I have cable. I mean,
so you don't ascribe to say Netflix or Hulu Plus,
Netflix or Amazon, like that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, of course I have it all.
Okay.
I got to watch all the shows. It's research for me, so I watch it everywhere. I watch all the different platforms. I have to. It's like if you work at Paramount on the film side, you're not going to not go see a Universal movie, you know. I don't watch the other networks live, but yeah, I have to watch
so
everything.
funny.
I have to be up to date on what actors are doing. You know what I mean? I have to, especially now, like there's so many what we call limited series. Like they do one season of a show on Netflix, and they're available. And if it's an amazing show, you know, I've got to be able to. We just cast one of the actors from Sense8 in the lead in one of our new pilots. So like we have to constantly be doing research and finding actors and watching things. And if I have to go, you know, if producers and casting directors want an actor for one of our shows, I have to be able to speak intelligently as to the actor's body of work as to why they could do this role, you know? So I have to watch everything. I am literally a TV junkie. When you have a 3-year-old, you don't get to go to movies, but I can watch TV.
That's true. I totally get that.
You know, and I can on my, you know, on my iPad, or I've even gotten now so good at watching on my iPhone that I've watched shows and episodes on my iPhone because I have like the big iPhone. So
sure. With the bigger screen.
I like never be able to do it so little because it's so nice to have a big screen, but it's pretty good.
So what cartoon does your son watch that you totally get into?
Miles from Tomorrowland.
Oh, sure, exactly. I still watch cartoons. I don't know if that's something that a lot of other parents do, but you know, my daughter and I still watch the cartoons that she watched. But there's something about cartoons that helps me. It's what's that?
Relax.
Yes. It's totally like relaxing to watch cartoons. And I still watch Daria on Hulu Plus because that's just a classic cartoon, of course, from back in the day. You're not old like enough to remember Daria.
Person. Like animation, I'm not like a huge animation person, but sure. I mean, like Solomon is allowed like a show or two in the morning and one at night. So we do a lot of like Miles from Tomorrowland, Sophia the First, Jake and the Neverland Pirates.
Oh, sure.
Every now and then he wants to watch Mickey, Paw Patrol. My son is bilingual. He speaks Spanish. So every now and then somehow on like my DVR, the episodes are in Spanish and he'll sit there and watch it in Spanish, which is fascinating.
That is so interesting.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
So,
and I'll like look at him and I'll be like, do you understand what they're saying? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, okay.
So is there a show, say like a Hulu or a Netflix original show that is your guilty pleasure?
I don't know I would say Kimmy Schmidt was my guilty pleasure.
Oh, sure.
It was a little far-fetched, although amazing, and she's beyond hysterically funny, and, you know, Tina Fey and sort of Robert Carlock are geniuses, but I would say Narcos on Netflix was pretty amazing. Sense8 was pretty amazing as shows.
I watched Sense8 and it was so, I don't know if it was just my brain wasn't ready to handle that show, but it was so cerebral. I felt like I had to think all the time.
Yeah.
And I was like I was like always trying to like get it all to come together. And I kept going, because my daughter was watching it too. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I must have missed something.
Yeah.
And but I'm still glad I watched it. It was. Have you ever heard of Hemlock Grove?
Guilty pleasure.
Okay, so you know, I'm literally just finishing up because the latest season just went on. What was it, a week or two ago?
Yes.
And I've been. Yeah, and that show it's a little bit like that too. I'm going, what the fuck is going on? But I can't not watch. It's such a good show.
Jansen is everything in that show.
Yes.
She's like 900 feet tall, which I love.
Exactly.
And she is so evil.
Right.
With like, I love it. And you know what else are two of my favorite shows, which I would say are guilty pleasures, which I get teased about, but in a good way for loving. I loved Banshee, which is on Cinemax, and oh God, the other shows starring Sullivan Stapleton, who's now in the NBC show, Strike Back.
Okay, I haven't heard either one of those.
Strike Back is over. There were like 4 seasons. It was basically like a MI6 espionage around the world show.
Okay.
But there was always like a gorgeous woman, and then Sullivan Stapleton was usually like, because it's Cinemax, there would be like a sex scene, and you'd just be like, what am I watching? But the women were international, and he was kind of like a Bond in a way.
Sure.
Like working man Bond.
Right.
He would always have sex with like the most gorgeous woman, and like obviously you were like, they're being blown up around them, yet they find time to have sex. Like it's always
exactly.
amazing.
Well, isn't that's an essential in all our worlds? I know I would.
Totally.
Right.
You know, it's like they just got out of like a refugee camp and they had sex. Like,
exactly. It's like right. Exactly.
I mean, you know, like just awful.
That
but,
just
like,
makes
amazing.
sense, though.
Yeah.
Do
so those
you
would be my guilty pleasure shows.
do you think that that streaming shows are getting better than network shows?
No, I don't think they're getting better. They just look, here's the hard facts. They can do more stuff because they're not governed by the same laws we're governed by in terms of networks. So by definition of that, they can take bigger risks. Do I think they're better? Some might be better, some might not be better. You know, network TV is not going anywhere. People will always want to turn on one of the 4 channels. You know, it's just we have to shift our business and expand our business. Right. And that's what like people smarter than me in the company are working on. But, you know, certainly there are different rules for the internet than for the networks. So it's hard. It's like saying, can you compare this orange to this apple in a way?
So what show is coming down the pike that you're excited about?
Ooh.
Is there one?
Well, you know, The Grinder, which is a show that I cover here, starring Rob Lowe and Fred Savage, is pretty much like some of the best comedic writing that you can get. So, you know, I would love like more people in the country to watch it. We have, like I said, I don't know, like our mid-season stuff, you know, we've got Lucifer and
what's that show about? Can I just ask, what's Lucifer about? Because in my mind, I'm thinking it must be something to do with the devil or someone who's very devilish.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like...
Can you talk about it?
It is a procedural that is sort of based here in Los Angeles, and Lucifer comes back because he's trying to like make his way, and he gets paired up with a female police officer, and he helps solve crimes. It's from like Jerry Bruckheimer Television and Warner Brothers, so it's sexy. Los Angeles is a character. We have this amazing British actor called Tom Ellis who's playing the star role, and he is cheeky and witty and dark and sexy, and it's pretty awesome. It's pretty badass, and you know, it's got a great like diverse, sexy cast, and you know, it's very Los Angeles. It's very Los Angeles, which I think is cool.
So, so if someone is, and I know I kind of asked this question earlier, but so if someone is thinking to themselves, I'm thinking I should probably move out to LA, like I want to pursue acting, and I'm thinking that I want to move out to LA, would you think that would be the best way for them to get noticed, or are there ways for people who don't live in Los Angeles to garner the attention of casting directors? Look at the look on your face.
Wait, say that again? Say that again?
Well, I'm trying, you know, I live in Minneapolis, and I remember when, you know, I was out recently meeting with Bravo, do you know Christy Dees? I feel like all you guys know each other. What's that? You don't know Christy? And, you know, for her, she was thinking to herself, wow, I can't believe you're from Minnesota. She thought I had a cow in my backyard that I would milk. And I'm not joking. This is really what she thought. And then she just figured I like went in the back and grabbed a chicken and butchered it for dinner. She couldn't really comprehend that in Minnesota, which is flyover country for most of, the country. They're like worried the plane's going to go down when we're here. And so, the whole premise when she was talking to me was like, I think we should do kind of this show based on, the fact that you're building this brand from your kitchen table in Minnesota because everybody thinks that you guys are total hicks. And I'm looking at it from the, and it kind of sparked something in my head when I was in this meeting with her, which was like, how does someone from Minnesota, how does someone from, bumfuck Iowa, let's just say this, how do they, without literally moving to LA, how do they get, is it possible for someone to get an opportunity or to get time with someone like you or the people of influence?
There's showcases. People come out here. They get into acting schools. They do work. There's not a huge theater community here, but there are ways. Like, there's no 1 + 1 = 2. That's just not how it happens. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of gumption, and a lot of talent. Like, they all have to come together, But my biggest piece of advice is, again, if this is your passion, like, staying in Minnesota might not be the best chance if you want to be a TV star. So, I would never say quit your job and give up your savings and move here. Like, it all needs to make sense financially for you.
I would tell them to move. I don't care about their savings.
Okay, well, you can tell them that. I wouldn't. But they should be here and get in classes, start studying, and you got to do the hard work,
Yeah, because I'm assuming opportunities don't come just for most. They just don't fall into people's laps, so to speak. And like you were saying earlier, even when an opportunity does come your way, you still end up getting directed and paired up with an acting coach.
Yeah. When people say like they were like, where did they come from? Like, they're brand new. They've usually been kicking around for a bunch of years, like working really hard at it, and they have their break. Right. They do that one role that finally they get noticed.
Right. Are there cities outside of LA that you're going that within the industry that you are finding are becoming great places for people to get noticed?
Yeah, look, Atlanta, North Carolina.
Louisiana.
Yeah. East, just because like it's there's a lot of like Wilmington and like places, so people are going there.
Really? That's so fascinating to me. I had no idea.
Yeah. Like Dawson's Creek was shot in Wilmington, North Carolina. There's a huge TV studio out there. But Atlanta, Louisiana, I would say like, Chicago, obviously. Miami, just because like the Latin market is so big now. And then obviously, anywhere like, actors coming out of the Guthrie, know what I mean? Like places where there's like big theater houses.
I'm just watching.
Oh, so.
Okay. That's fascinating. Yeah. I had no idea that North Carolina, I'm going to have to research that because that's pretty fascinating information.
I don't know anything about this app, but there's like these two little hands in the corner.
Yep. You know what? Listen, what that is it's someone's literally giving you love. It's like when you and I go like this to each other, like, hey, or like when we chest butt when we meet each other.
Someone just gave me a lot of love.
They did. They did.
I'm now beating you in love.
I know. It's like a war. But see, now someone's doing it to me too.
Yeah, they are.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's almost as much love as anyways, I won't go that far.
So I feel like I could do this all day with you, but
I know you got to get going. I know you do. I was just going to wrap this up. So I appreciate you taking time out of my day. Or out of your day. I'm sorry. See, it's always about me. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to be on the podcast. It really has been a pleasure looking at you for the last hour and listening to everything. And helping. God, people are just going crazy here. It's a war. It's a war, but you're totally winning between us. So. Thank you, Seth. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future. And,
yes, when you're out here, we have to have a meal.
Exactly, that would be fun. So take care. Have a fantastic day.
Bye.
Hugs
so
and
nice.
kisses.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yes,
Awesome.
take care. Yep, bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the show. I really, really appreciate it. I'll be back on Tuesday or Wednesday with another episode of the Good Podcast, as well as next Friday. Or maybe next Saturday, I'm going to be doing another Blab. I'm really not quite for sure, but I appreciate everybody who's been on the show, and I look forward to talking with all you guys later. Check me out, thegoodpodcast.com. You can also find me on Facebook and on Twitter as well. On Facebook, it's under The Good Podcast. Under Twitter, it's Good Podcast 1. So have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Stay out of trouble. Don't drink too much. And as I've said before, the greatest success is being yourself. So work on that, and everything else should follow along. Take care, everybody. Bye.